YouTube. And so I'm going. Tara, you're good. Good for show.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Tara Singer, and it is my pleasure and honor to serve as the President and Chief Executive Officer of Omicron Delta Kappa. I want to welcome you this afternoon to the 2022 Candidate Forum for the position of Faculty Staff Trustee and Chair-elect of the Mission Committee. Today, we have two great candidates who are interested in serving in this position, who are going to answer some questions that I will provide to them. We will be recording this forum today and have it available for advisors and circle coordinators to review in the future and at their convenience. Participants in the forum will not be able to ask questions directly because everybody is on mute, but if you have a question, you may ask it in the chat box, which our Vice President for Membership and Operations, Tim Reed, will be monitoring. So let's begin and get to know our candidates. Sheridan Henson, who is our circle coordinator from Cumberland University, will go first. Sheridan, why don't you provide a little information about your background, ODK involvement, and your reasons for being interested in serving in this position?
Well, good afternoon, Tara, and good afternoon, ODK family. I'm Dr. Sheridan Henson, the Executive Director of Academic Support, and I'm also Assistant Professor of Leadership Studies at Cumberland University. I serve as an administrative faculty at Cumberland. My role there is split into two things. First, leading the directors of student success, our writing center, career services and internships, and Office of the Chaplain. And then two, I direct and teach in the first year experience program. And I also teach organizational behavior, conflict resolution, and leadership to graduate students. I also chair the General Education Core Committee that's tasked with assessing and improving GEC courses on campus, which has also given me the opportunity of serving as one of the head writers of Cumberland's decennial accreditation report to the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. I also support the roles or have support roles at Cumberland, including serving as faculty advisor of the CU Parents Association, faculty advisor for Kappa Sigma fraternity. Of course, I'm the circle coordinator for ODK, faculty advisor for Student Veterans Association, and also the chapter of Alpha Chi. I was inducted into ODK in 2008, and I've provided support to the faculty advisor of our circle since then. Eventually, I was appointed as the circle coordinator, and in 2016, it was apparent that our circle was active in name but not in practice. So we needed goals and standards and results, and my solution was to trust in the circle standards process to get our circle healthy again. And through those best practices, we were able to form a functional team of student officers that led to service projects and campus-wide recognition. And with the creation of Cumberland's newest tradition, Founders Day, our university president, who's also an ODK member, included ODK induction as the capstone event for the program. And it's been my pleasure to make the arrangements needed to have ODK included in that event focused on student leadership. I've also had the good fortune of teaming up with Dr. Kent Holman, who is a member of our sociology faculty, who had designed a series of lectures and social events focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion called Celebrating Voices. And with our circle support here at Cumberland, the event quickly became the hallmark of the 2021 academic year. And it was the inaugural winner of ODK's Andrestine M. Robinson Champion Award for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We celebrated the voices of leaders from the African American, Hispanic, and Jewish communities. And we set the foundation for an open dialogue for years to come. And we hope to bring that program back to campus this fall as our focus towards Clay Grant and bringing that program back to campus. On the national level, I've had the opportunity to serve on the Mission Committee, the National Awards Committee, where I'm currently the chair, and the Membership Standards Committee. Honestly, I've never worked with a better set of volunteers working through the process of selecting Clay Grant recipients National Leaders of the Year, Circle Leaders of the Year, National Award winners. We've also had the opportunity of revising policy and establishing new processes that affect the society at the national level. So it's been quite exciting. And the knowledge that a bit of myself has gone into a few stitches of the ODK tapestry has really been a privilege. Lastly, it's the desire to keep improving our services to students and faculty that motivates me to serve as faculty, staff, trustee. As a society, we continue to enjoy successes, and I want to contribute to that process however way I can.
Thank you very much. Peter, so why don't you tell us a little bit about you, sort of about your background and your ODK involvement and your reasons for being interested in serving in this important position?
Absolutely. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter Ross. My pronouns are he, his, him. I'm currently the director of student involvement here at Merrimack College. I originally started as the coordinator of multicultural initiatives here, literally before the pandemic hit here at Merrimack College, and just everywhere in general too. What I do as the director of student involvement is assist with the large scale programs that we do on campus, so kind of our staple events in terms of our Mactoberfest or block party, our Light and Hope events, just bring events that bring the community together, bring the alumni together, faculty and staff, trying to enjoy, what it is to be a Merrimack warrior here on campus, right? Aside from that, I'm the lead of leadership development here on campus. So I advise ODK, I also advise NSLS, and we're currently in the development of a new program here to support other students to get involved and create a pipeline for them to be part of, FYE mentors, orientation leaders, or just building managers here on campus. And the main goal there is to make sure that we build programs to heighten their qualities and skills to make them better, not only at college, but also prepare them for when they graduate after college. Aside from that, I'm the main advisor for our Student Government Association as of this year. It's been a really pleasure to get to know them and try to build that bridge to make them prominent again here, especially with the pandemic hitting, get them back on their feet and make the plans and the adjustments to make a better opportunity for our students here. Aside from that, I also advise our fraternity sorority life here. We have 4 national organizations. It's kind of been a little home for myself for the fact that I currently am part of a national organization myself, where I served 12 years there nationally for that organization. So it kind of brings a little full circle on that part component too. Also on the side, when I do have time, I do teach an FYE class and also teach a leadership class here on campus, which is a new program that we're also trying to develop through our Academic Success Center to help students with the notions of perseverance and how do we, go from, having those failures in life and how to succeed from that part. But I think most of the enjoyment I've had this past year has been with ODK. Upon my promotion, where a lot of the office, decided to leave and everything like that, totally understandable what's been going on. One of the first things I do appreciate Tim helping me out with the endeavor was being inducted and selecting a few students to help me out with that endeavor. And it's been a pleasure myself to get involved with it because, we started from a dormant circle to try to create it for what it is now. We've inducted over 45 students this past year, but also not only that, I was just trying to develop programming behind that. We didn't want to be just a society that students just enroll and call it a day, right? So I was trying to create opportunities for them to be involved, but also to give them resources too. So we're developing partnerships with our career center here too, once again, to make sure that our students are leaders, right? And that's why they're selected to be part of the circle. So what are we doing to enhance those abilities to make them who they are? So I think within the past 9-10 months that I've been a circle coordinator and being part of the circle, we've been able to take those step-by-step initiatives to help support the circle, right? And I've taken much joy of it. We created a program that I'm hoping to bring it to the next level next year, which we call our 47 dinner. The school was founded in 1947, so I just plugged the number there. And our goal is to bring alumni and circle members here that are currently here at Merrimack, and they come have dinner with our current members. But the goal is to next year specifically invite local people here, like politicians or artists, to come and meet our students to get different perspectives on how their careers have gone through and give them more perspectives on what to expect in the future for their future endeavors. So it's been a really joy to get to do that, and hopefully we're going to try to commit ourselves to not only participate more in the spring giving back with the community service, but also do something in the fall time, more of a local level component to it. My want to be part of the Board of Trustees, I think me personally on a professional level, I think that is the next step for me to learn more from individuals that have been doing this for a long time and kind of grasping, kind of being that sponge for me to learn more. But also I think I do provide a different perspective that I've been able to not only been born and raised here in Massachusetts, north of Boston, but also, I got my master's at Florida International University in Miami. So I've got different perspectives there. And I worked at IUPUI in Indiana, and I did live for a few years in Los Angeles running a nonprofit. So I do think that I only provide a new perspective on certain things, but also learning from and being that sponge from everyone that's been a party here through years and months of them being involved. But not only that, I think it comes full circle, and then me being able to, educate our students and help them, prepare them, and create that networking opportunity for them to be involved.
Thank you very much, Peter. We are fond of saying at ODK about things coming full circle. So for this afternoon's participants, Peter, can you please describe what you see as some of the challenges facing Omicron Delta Kappa at both the circle level and at the national level?
Yeah, so I think when I say this, I think it's more recruitment, retention, and engagement, right? So I think one of the things that, noticing here just in higher education or just working with students on a daily basis is how do we help develop them towards success, right? I think what you've done in the past few years in terms of DEI component is very, very helpful for them to understand their intersectionality, helping them understand the different identities and how some of them are privileged and how they can help other people that might not have those privileges for the identities. But I think the one thing that I've been noticing here specifically at our institution, just nationwide, is just what are we doing to prepare them more on the mental health component, right? How do we prepare them for setting boundaries? And I noticed that one of the workshops we'll have at the conference is, burnout, and what does that really mean? And how do we help support our students, but also, our circle advisors, your staff, the rest of the Board of Trustee members, how do we support those initiatives and provide resources, right? Because without any of us, the circles don't exist, right? So how do we create and develop those opportunities for them to understand what that looks like? I think the other component too is the transition, right? And I think it's very important to go, back every year to see what worked and what didn't work. But now we're at the tail end of this pandemic, right? So it's revisiting what worked and what didn't work. What is the new norm? How do we kind of gravitate towards being flexible and adaptable and staying relevant, right? I think a lot of things that we've kind of seen in the past year is now tailing off into a new norm. So how do we become more relevant to our students here, right? You look at students nowadays, it's like, I have a minute of your attention, sell me on something, right? And what is the incentive behind that? So it's making sure that we do provide those opportunities, and whether it's the social media component, the marketing component, I think, ODK does really well a job at that. Is just staying consistent, seeing what works and what doesn't work. I think the other part too is just with that transition is, how do we create the new leaders of ODK, right? We do have our student advisory board, right? As a good foundation, but maybe we can create a new program that we can encompass more student leaders that maybe didn't make the board to transition them towards their senior into becoming young alumni and giving them the opportunity to see what we have here for ODK to be involved, right? I think some of the times people get a little hesitant, like, is it worth it? How do I go about this? But if we start creating these resources at an early time, and I'm glad that we've moved to the sophomore experience also, to provide more of that time to make them feel comfortable would be a good thing. But I think it's just really the engagement and the retention to help out in the recruitment component that will continue on with some of the challenges that we might have to overcome.
Thank you. Sheridan, what are your thoughts about what the society's challenges are at the circle level and the national level?
Well, Tara, at the circle level, campus recognition seems to remain a constant issue. The laurels of our society are well-founded and can be used to support our message when we're recruiting. And we can assure students that their dues investment is well-founded in the fact that we're only one of 4 members of the Honor Society Caucus. The reputation is unquestioned. However, the truly special candidates don't prioritize being part of academic elite. They want membership in an organization that cares, that serves and seeks to improve the livelihoods of our communities, both on campus and off campus. And that's the real challenge for each circle is, and we seek to, do we seek to improve our communities? And otherwise, what's the point of being a leader? So I think that's probably the biggest issue at the circle level. At the national level, I think membership numbers always remain a consistent issue. I don't think the pandemic helped our cause in those regards, but even before COVID-19, honor societies across the nation have been working to convince students that membership is worth the investment. So as we move further away from the 20th century model of higher education as exclusivity, I think the national body has to find a way to champion that 21st model of inclusivity. So I think those are the two main challenges we face at both the circle and national level.
Okay, thank you very much. So Sheridan, related to that, what do you see as the needs of our circle advisors, and how can our national organization best assist them?
Well, this is a very easy question for both Peter and myself, because as advisors and circle coordinators, we always want processes and we want policies that simplify every aspect of the way we run our circles. We need programs that promote student access and enable students to focus on the cause that means the most to them and their colleagues. We're in the business of molding future policymakers, so we need streamlined methods to encourage both budding leaders that are our students to create, promote, and execute impactful programming. That's what students want, is impactful programming. And I think ODK is the engine for that process, and our Board of Trustees is responsible for ensuring that we as advisors are supported in creating that impactful programming.
Thank you. Peter, what are your thoughts about what the national organization can do to support our circle advisors and their work on their campuses?
Yeah, so I totally agree, what Sharon just said, some of those impactful moments of what we can do. I think overall, I think just using my own experiences these past 10 months has just been, providing that person-to-person interaction. And like I said, I'll shout out Tim again for helping out with most of that initiative and everything like that. I think overall, it takes a village is what I'll say. And I think it's just more strategic and intentional, making sure, and maybe that's just a project that, myself and more of a regional component, right? How are we supporting each other there and creating more opportunities or open forums for other advisors at a regional level to kind of interact with one another and maybe produce some sort of like mini retreats here and there. But I think overall, I think the support that ODK does provide is good for what we're trying to do. I think it can just be strengthened and creating, more of those circles coming together and advisors coming together outside of me just going out of my own goodwill to try to contact people, maybe creating that open place and open platform for all of us to come together outside, from the national conference every year, or just more month-to-month things. And also depends on people's time. And I know when I say that, like, I know, the time is really of an essence and valuable for that. But I think, if we are able to work together, we'll go further with all the planning that we do have, the strategic plan that, ODK does have, and the goals and values that we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you very much. So our final question before we take questions from our participants. Peter, what are some of your thoughts about how the society in general can better engage with its members?
I think it's just hearing from our students themselves, right? And I think it's what are their needs and kind of find how we meet there, right? And I think a lot of the times, having our student advisory board there is a good first start, right? And seeing what they need and they are the voice for the rest of the students, right? But also at the same time, each circle coordinator and advisor, alumni advisor have those opportunities to listen to the students and what they want. I think overall, as advisors and coordinators, we know that the things that they are going to need after they graduate and still be involved within ODK, but also within the career paths and make things a better path for them to understand what life is going to be like. But overall, I think it's just meeting their needs in terms of setting up a foundation and kind of solidifying that. And we all know that our student leaders within ODK, they're already leaders on campus, right? That's why we select them and that's why they get nominated, right? So it's kind of like molding them into a better opportunity, a better vessel for them to succeed. But just hearing their voices and what their needs and wants are is the best way to start. And then us, we've been in the game for a long time, right? So we have a better notion of what we can do and provide for support for them.
Some of us with fully white hair have been in the game for a very long time. Sheridan, what are some of your thoughts about how the society can better engage with its membership?
Well, I mentioned earlier that advisors are charged with molding future policymakers. And I believe every circle and the national body should use our resources to demonstrate to prospective and active members that our circles are not designed to act as resume builders or stepping stones, rather that they're the vehicles for students to either begin or support the causes in which they're actively already investing their time and passion. Our current generation of college students are not the first batch of DEI champions. They have inherited an enduring process, and it's through programming like Cumberland's Celebrating Voices, and through our ODK Clay grant that focuses specifically on DEI programming, that we use that to demonstrate to students that ODK is a society for action, for positive change and representation. So the next step in a member's progress towards becoming real change makers is becoming those policy makers at all levels of local and national leadership. The end result's the creation of policy members, but the process lies in our DEI programming that I think makes ODK unique and stand out amongst all the other honor societies that students can choose from. So when we're looking at member engagement, when we get that message across to candidates and members, engagement follows.
Okay, thank you very much. We have maybe a question. So the question is, and we will let Peter answer this one first. How can the national office support circles in areas where circles are few and far between? As you all might know, we have a cluster of circles in the Southeast, but we have very few on the West Coast. So what are your thoughts, Peter, about how the national organization can support circles in areas where they are geographically dispersed?
So I think going back on what I was saying earlier in terms of like more of a regional platform, right? So I know in Massachusetts, we have a few in Boston and a few in Western Massachusetts, but then obviously New England is just a small area that everyone can come travel together, right? I think it's just having a platform where we can meet, a national member or a staff member can come and like have a meet and greet, or maybe just a weekend retreat. We can come together. It gives me an opportunity to meet everyone else who's part of ODK, open it up to maybe our student leaders to come, our e-board members, to give an opportunity. I think the best way to make connections is that face-to-face interaction, right? I know it's easy now with the whole, through Zoom and everything like that, but I think that personable experience provides opportunities to build a network, build the society of friends that we can accomplish here, right? So whether that's in the fall time where students are coming back on campus, or whether it's the summertime after the conference or anything like that, or maybe in spring, whichever it works out for everyone's calendar and everything like that, having those local regional meetings or summits, we'll just call it a summit for what it is. So we bring everyone together to kind of regroup, right? I think a lot of the times we get so sidetracked with what's going on with our own work, right? I know Sharon is very super busy. I'm super busy, right? It was an opportunity for us to come back together and kind of regroup. And I think that a lot of the times we miss that step because we're so focused on other things that sometimes we need to take a step back to come together and accomplish what we're trying to get, right? There's no harm or foul to take a few steps back to kind of reevaluate everything like that. So I think opportunities like that, where we can come together and just looking at the, maybe in the West Coast, right? Some of those inactive chapters or circles, I should say, there's an opportunity to come together and bring those opportunities back to bring ODK back there in those areas and everything we can do.
Thank you. So Sheridan, what are your thoughts about how the national organization can support circles when they're sort of geographically dispersed and they're few and far between?
Well, it's not just connecting circles to other circles, but I think one of the biggest solutions that the national body has already created would have been the national level circle, that where students that are at large, so to speak, have the access that they deserve, that they don't have to, I wouldn't say settle, but they don't have to look for a traditional local circle, but they can join as an at-large member of that online circle. We've seen how Zoom, we've seen how internet conferencing has served us as a society, both with our national conference. That was, by the way, the best online conference I've ever attended. And I don't just say that to flatter. It was an excellent program, and really, you could model an online circle after the type of features that we had in that online conference. So we can bring the benefits of ODK to the internet, and with our level of quality and standards, I think that's achievable. Now, if we're looking for established circles that somehow feel isolated from other circles or from the national body, most certainly we could look towards creating a system of networking between the advisors to establish the kind of relationships that might be served through online, where we can set up student socials amongst the chapters, so that students don't feel like they're limited to the 20 or 30 members that are within their circle. Maybe if they realize that there's a larger body out there. We need to push the opportunity that is the national conference. Is there some way that we can provide subsidies for those circles, especially if there's circles that are either having trouble accessing the national conference, or they can demonstrate that by their size or their youth that they've never attended a conference. If we can provide access for them, then perhaps we could bring them into the larger community through national conference attendance. I think that I've seen that done with other honor societies, where there were special subsidies granted to circles that had never attended a conference before, or they were low in numbers. It's not only a great way to connect them to the larger ODK family, but it also promotes just overall health within their circle. If you have one or two students going to a national conference, they bring that good news back to their campuses, and before you know it, they're growing along with their campus-wide reputation. It's one thing to induct students; it's quite another thing to where you can tell not only can you join ODK as a member, but we'll also help you come to the national conference, meet other students that are like you, and celebrate what it means to be student scholars.
Okay. Last question of the afternoon. And so Sheridan, I'll ask you to answer this first, and then Peter, you can answer it second. So Sheridan, what ideas do you have about the extension or expansion of circles to new campuses for ODK?
Do I like the idea of it? I think it shouldn't be something that we're afraid of. I know that the traditional mindset, and I mentioned earlier this 20th century idea of exclusivity, which is something that I don't think ODK suffers from, not in the slightest. I think we're a very inclusive organization. We welcome the idea of bringing in new, different members, increasing enrollment. I don't think you lower quality by increasing quantity. I think as long as we stick to our 5 pillars, we can grow as a national organization. We could even become an international organization, I think, if that was something we so choose, because of the universality of the 5 pillars. And if we can apply that, and we take it upon ourselves as a professional and a personal duty to share those 5 pillars with the world, then we can grow as large as we wish, and still have the same pride that we've always had in ODK.
Thank you. And Peter, your last question to answer. What ideas do you have about the expansion and extension of Omicron Delta Kappa to new campuses?
So I think it's just being really intentional if we decide to go on that endeavor of expansion, right? And what I mean by that is, figuring out it's not about quantity, right? It's about quality too, right? In hopes that you do achieve both at the same time. It's figuring out where does ODK fit in certain institutions, right? obviously in the grand scheme of it, it would be nice to have ODK circles everywhere, right? But, you know, where do our pillars meet with the values and missions of each institution, right? Because not everything's going to be shared the same way, or the point of view. Maybe we don't want to be in all those schools that we want to, but if we're strategic enough to go to the schools that we want to, and figuring out what that looks like, and a lot of times it's geographical also, right? So I know, you know, I have the blessing here in Massachusetts where we have like 20 schools within a 5-mile radius, right? So, you know, able to create a strong circle in one school can kind of filter out to all the other schools, like, oh, ODK circle over there, that's interesting, I want to learn more about that, right? And kind of the word of mouth behind that. But where other places where institutions are farther away from each other, right? It's just figuring out which schools fit the needs most, right? And obviously the simple notion after that is just contacting the school, and, you know, majority of schools have a leadership development, right? And I think it's just promoting what can we bring to the campus, right? And kind of expressing what do we do at a local, regional level, how does that turn into a national component? How do we develop our student leaders, and let everyone know that, you know, ODK is a staple concept behind what a student leader could be and what a leader can be in general, right? And obviously that is a long endeavor to do. I use my own experience in my own fraternity where I was part of the expansion team, right? So it's really a lot of conversation with school administration and understanding, you know, do our values meet with each other? And if they do, making sure that we have the right support for one another, right? It's not a feat that one person can do it. It's several people at a local level, and this is going to actually help out with retention recruitment, right? Getting some of our ODK members at a random school in I don't know, Ohio, right? And seeing if we have any members there that want to help out with the expansion effort and get them engaged too, in hopes that, hey, I kind of like this expansion effort. All right, I want to kind of work at a national level too. And how does that incorporate? So that actually helps out the organization itself and kind of retain that for what it is. But I think it's just a lot of research and strategically and being intentional of what we want to do with our expansion.
Thank you. So they always say, never forget to ask for the sale. So Peter, one last question. If you're trying to convince the people who vote to vote for you, what is the parting thought you want to leave them with? Why should we vote for you?
Okay. It's my pitch sale right now. So I think overall, and I know for me, you know, I am, and I'll use kind of what we were saying, I'm new to the game, right? And I think it's for me, it's been an exciting 10 months for me, but also I see the opportunity for growth for myself, but also growth for the circles that I will be hopefully working with, right? And I think everyone that I will be in touch with can help me support my goals and ideas that I do have, and bring the new perspective and new ideas that I can bring to ODK, not only at a regional, local level, but also in terms of a national level. I'm here to learn. I'm also here to teach my experiences too, for what I've done in the past my whole life, right? And it's been not a non-traditional way, right? And I think sometimes we need to think outside the circle sometimes to make sure that we encompass all the different experiences to help promote and create better experiences for everyone here within the circle.
Sheridan, here's your chance to ask for the sale. Why should the sitting advisors ask for receive your vote?
Sure. You know, when I was inducted in 2008, it was the first honor society that took a chance on me. I was tapped by my friend and my mentor, and that made it a very special moment for me. And that passion really hasn't died down at all. In fact, I think it's increased, especially when I decided, you know, I'll ask Tim if there's any opportunities at the national level to serve. And that really, there was no desire for any type of opportunity other than just the opportunity to serve and to discover. And the amount that I've learned about the society and the amount that I've discovered has been a wonderful gift. So I still feel as though I owe ODK for everything it gives me. And I want to ensure the faculty advisors and the circle coordinators that my passion for the society that I had in 2008 has done nothing but grow, and I wish to continue to give. And that seems to be my priority now, and if I'm elected.
Thank you both very much. It's been good to have you all engage in this conversation this afternoon and to learn more about your perspectives about the national organization and ways in which you can help. And so we really appreciate your all's interest in serving in this position and the time that you've spent with us. To our advisors, faculty advisors and circle coordinators, we want to let you know that the online election will be held May 25th through June 3rd. We will be sending out a notice on or about May 24th to advise you about how you may vote online. The announcement of the results of the election will be made during the awards dinner, which will be held in conjunction with the 2022 National Leadership Conference in Lexington, Kentucky. And so we'll announce them that evening, and then we will proceed with having our newest member of our board come join us. Thank you all again for attending this evening's forum. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact the national headquarters. You can always reach us by checking our contact box at odk.org on our website. Have a good afternoon.